All right, guys and gals, third and final film that I want to talk about that I saw, Black Adam. And you know what? I'm glad I did. So let me just get this out of the way. Uh, another DCEU film. While I do recognize that critics don't love it, audiences do. This is one of those movies that once again has like this division between critics and audiences members. So this is just something that since its release I've noticed, and I'm glad that it's finally here. Like this is a movie I remember that's been announced way back, I think 2017, and it's 2022, and this movie's finally out. I mean, I had no idea until I found out like this movie may have been announced like what way back in 2007 or sometime afterwards. Like Black Adam as a movie like has been in development hell for like a really long time, maybe just as long as Deadpool until that test footage came out that everyone remembers from Deadpool. But that's a different topic. But yeah, but like I want to go ahead with this movie. Like, yeah, so the Dwayne the Rock Johnson's performance as Black Adam. It's fine. It's good enough. But I mean, like, he was purposely stiff. He wasn't trying to be like funny or charismatic or a comedic or anything like that. Like, The Rock is more of a charismatic kind of guy, and I think on purpose he wasn't. He wasn't at all. He didn't even smile much. So I think a lot of people may have criticized his performance, but that was really on purpose. This is who he was as just a character, like all of a sudden awakened after like centuries, and I like how there's this background story that at least we thought was clear of who he was or where he came from, his family, his people, and a fictional Egyptian city of Khandak. But it's clear as the movie goes on, more and more missing information gets revealed of what happened and who he was and how his powers were attained by the wizards that granted him whenever he says Shazam. Speaking of which, I hope there's like a crossover of Shazam and Black Adam because I think that's going to be more than expected. But back to this film, he finds himself as sort of like he's supposedly like this champion, this figure supposed to save Khandak, but when he takes his actions in a not so heroic way, you know many people, natives, they see him as heroics, just trying to get out of this, get rid of these like mercenaries, just overtaking the city for reasons that really like, at least if I forgot, like really not well explained, at least to me. It's a good thing that like the JSA debuted, Justice Society of America. They're one of the more interesting characters in this film. I like Hawkman and Doctor Fate in this movie. And like, as for a Cyclone and Atom Smasher, fine. They're like the young members of the team, all cool, whatever. Kind of like they were there just for comic relief, but their powers are pretty cool. Like, if you kind of think about it, like, they're I think they're there just to like sort of like MCU a character like similarities, like Doctor Fate as a sort of like the opposite of Doctor Strange, and then Hawkman, Falcon, Atom Smasher, Ant Man, and then Cyclone. That's actually a hard one. I might have seen like a comparison picture of Cyclone, maybe Storm, or I could be missing, but I still like the inclusion of these characters. I thought like the relationship between Doctor Fate and Hawkman was pretty interesting. The movie works try to give a lot of background detail on who they are as people. Like have years of just teaming up together and all that cool stuff. But yeah, look, I'm not gonna lie. Script not the best, but it's not a disaster movie. It's still a lot of fun. Pretty cool cinematography. Visual effects, more than good enough. Well done, and then all that. I thought that two of the more important characters who are more human than anyone. A woman named Adriana, she's like the mother studying historical artifacts of Khandak, and then of course her son, kind of like a Gen Z kid, loves skateboards, loves superheroes, knows everything there is to know about Batman and Superman. So I thought that was pretty cool. But one of the things I noticed that's like kept being highlighted throughout the film is like this sudden rivalry between Hawkman and Black Adam, just because the way they handle problems in the world, the way they view the world, it's just different. So their attitudes, their mindsets, it's just different. This is why like they didn't really get along immediately, even when like calling a truce immediately, you know. And like in the third act, just kind of gets lost in this whole mythical book mumbo jumbo, you know, MacGuffin that becomes important, like this crown thing. So yeah, this is one of those movies that once again like has a MacGuffin. You know, it is an actual term. I know it sounds silly, but there is like an object that's like a MacGuffin that like becomes important and like changes everything and either ruins the world or it can save the world. So it's that kind of thing. But yeah, regarding cinematography, if there's something that I didn't have an issue with, but I kept noticing is there were so many like slow motion moments. And I think it's just meant to like emphasize the epic action sequences. And there were a lot of pretty good ones, but I think it's just kind of like meant to just keep the audiences on their toes. And it just kind of kept me in it. Like whether it's someone, a character that we want to care about, almost in danger, or uh, a really cool actions and set piece about to happen, like you'll notice how there are like a lot of slow motion moments that just kept happening, and it's more common than you think, especially like somewhere towards the end, you know. But I do want to highlight it once more. Doctor Fate. I think like Pierce Brosnan as Doctor Fate, like I thought he did a pretty solid job. He showed his character as his wisdom. Of course, Pierce Brosnan as well, being like cool and all that. I'm not used to Pierce Brosnan with like you know, with the beard and all that, and the way his hair is all slicked back. So I thought he still looks pretty good. And Aldous Hodge, his performance as Hawkman, more than sufficient enough. He still did a good job. He showed a lot of rage with his character, you know. So yeah, I still thought it was good. Like as for the Black Adam character, like slow but little developments. I do like how I forgot the kid's name, but I really do like how you know he does slowly but surely like care about him. He bonds with him in a way. I thought like that was important. It does you know push the story forward and like what he's willing to do for the people that actually care for him. You know because he views himself as someone who doesn't deserve to be this champion, but others see him as the savior who was chosen to be and is meant to be. It's about also like Black Adam just trying to find his self-worth and like you know discovering the belief he has himself eventually. You know when especially when it comes to the backstory of his own family and how they have been sacrificed for his own power. So I thought like when you break it down, his own journey, I still thought that was pretty interesting as well. It is a fun time. It's fun. It's entertaining. It's not meant to be like thought provoking, but there are like nice familiar family themes. Well, I don't want to say family themes. I just think like again, family is still a good part in this movie, but it's just meant to be fun and exciting. There is still the whole world building thing and all that, especially since like a DCEU film as well. Even though like the film franchise itself is sort of going restructure, rebranding, and change of position. I'll talk about that another day, but um, it's definitely an exciting movie. It's a lot of fun. I definitely enjoyed it. I thought the critics were too harsh. It's not a great story, but it's still decent enough. Maybe a few comedic moments I think were that was like a bit forced, trying to force the humor, but it's still more than fine. Still a solid movie, still worth checking out to this day. You know, if you want to go again, yeah, I mean, it's still a lot of fun until Black Panther Wakanda Forever comes and December Avatar the Way of Water. So yeah, uh I recommend it as well. Get your popcorn and go ahead and watch it. It's still a pretty solid film.